Last year, when I was reading Dr. Zornberg's Sefer on Bamidbar, at the very last essay she had in there, she had the idea of the metamorphosis of Moshe Rabbeinu, the growth of Moshe Rabbeinu, of how he went from a lo ish devarim, a person who wasn't a person of words, to eventually becoming an ish devarim at the start of devarim, and then finally becoming the isha Elohim, the man of God. And she said she brought on an unbelievable midrash. It's a midrash Tehillim on Perek Tzadi, on Perek 90. It's the Tehillim that starts off that says Tefillah Moshe Ish Elohim, a prayer of Moshe Rabbeinu, the man of Elohim, the man of God. And the question was, what does it mean to be an Ish Elohim? What does it mean to be the man of Elohim? Here it's going to, and she brought down this midrash which learns Ish in the concept of the Baal, in the concept of the husband of the Elohim. And it says in the midrash Tehillim again, it says Davar Aher, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Bar Simon B'Shem Reish Lakish. The following is a teaching in the name of Reish Lakish. Lama Nikra Shemo Isha Elokim. Why is Moshe known as the man of Elokim, or the husband of Elokim? So he says the Midrash, says Reish Lakish, Ma ha'ish im mevakesh lahafer nidrei ishto mafer, v'im mevakesh mekayem. He says why? Because Ma ha'ish, the husband, im mevakesh lahafer nidrei ishto, if he wants to void his wife's neders, if the wife makes an oath, a vow, and he says he wants to cancel, he's allowed to cancel it, mefer, v'im mevakesh mekayem, and if he wants, he could mekayem it, he could fulfill it and make it last. Shenemar, isha Yefirenu, as the pasuk says in Bamidbar, Lamed Yudalid, that the husband has the ability to nullify the vow, or the husband has the ability to mekayem the vow. It's the koah of the husband to decide when the vow happens or not. Kach kaviyachol, Moshe Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This, so to speak, Moshe Rabbeinu says, and now it's quoting our parasha, Kuma Hashem and Shuva Hashem. In Parashat Behaalotecha, we have the famous section of the Shaar Nun. We have the famous section of Vayhi ben So Aaron, Bayom Moshe, Kuma Hashem. At the very beginning, Moshe tells the Aaron when it's going, he says to Hashem, get up and go and get rid of our enemies. Let's get rid of all of our enemies. And at the very end, Moshe has the ability to say, Shuva Hashem, okay, it's time for it to rest, and now come back to the Jewish people, or bring the Jewish people back. And what the Midrash is doing is relating the Kuma and the Shuva to the concept of being Mefer and Mekayem, the concept of being in control of the neder of the Isha. And Dr. Zornberg said beautifully that we see at the very end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, throughout Moshe's life, he was more like the mother and Hashem was like the father. He was more like the wife, where Hashem was the one in charge, and Hashem decides when and where to Mekayem and to Mefer. But at the very end, Moshe is elevated to the status of the Isha Elokim. He is now the husband when it comes, at least to the aspect of Elokim. Yud Kei Vav Kei is much higher, but at least to the aspect of Elokim, Moshe can now decide when and where is there going to be an Elokim. When and where are we going to have a neder? When is Hashem going to make a decree? When is Hashem not going to make a decree? And it's a great koah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the pasuk that they use to show you of Moshe telling God is not the pasuk in Devarim. It's not the pasuk in V'zot HaBaracha, the very end of the Torah, when Moshe reaches that level. Rather, it's the pesukim in Behaalotecha of the Shaar Nun. And I thought so beautifully, for those that have listened to the previous Divrei Torah of the Shaar Nun, based on Rabbi Kahn's teaching, based on the Rabbi Soloveitchik, based on the Hasidim, the Shvilei Pinchas speaks about this, based on the Mekubalim, the Shaar Nun was the Torah that was supposed to happen. And the Torah that's supposed to happen is the Torah, really, of the end of days. It's the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu reaching those levels he was supposed to reach. We said, based on Shvilei Pinchas, at the end of Moshe Rabbeinu's life, he goes from the Arvot Moav, he goes from Moav, which is Gematria 49, up to Har Nevo, Har Shel Nun Bo, Har where the 50 is there, where there's the Nun. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to reach the level of the Shaar Nun. When? He's going to reach it at the end of his life, when he becomes the Isha Elohim. But what's the Shaar Nun hinting to now by us in Behaalotecha? The Shaar Nun is hinting to what Moshe could have been. And in this world, we have a live Moshe. It's not the dead Moshe, but it's the Moshe Rabbeinu who's alive. And he's the one now that's dictating to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kuma Hashem, Shuva Hashem, fight these wars. It's time to stop. But I thought, unbelievable. Well, look what the Midrash, look at the depth of the Midrash. The Midrash is hinting to us, where do we want to know where we have the Isha Elohim? Where do we have Moshe Rabbeinu at the greatest heights? We have it in two places in the Torah. In V'zot HaBaracha, and we have it over here in the Shaar Nun, the section of Ibn Saron that never actually happens. Look at the depth of the Torah. Look at the depth of Midrashim, where there's such hints in the Midrash to the greatness of what Moshe could have been, what we could have been, and what eventually, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to get to. Shabbat Shalom.